Boom! What's up? Got a very special episode today. We have my good friend,
Sketch Menace, Zach, that guy, you know, former champ.
See, I wanted to name not some AIDS-crawling disgrace Scott with an H problem. This stray dog get a straight shot while he ain't watching like train spotting. This lame's not in his lane. Watch this, your train stops, so get off, pal. Aim's flawless, a trained marksman, JFK caught with the top down.
We're gonna be drinking a beer because Sketch is not a very big drinker and I'm actually trying to cut back myself.
Good for you.
But yeah, I was actually sober for 113 days. Did I tell you that?
Really? No,
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I kind of want to quit again, but...
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Sober? Like,
Yeah.
'cause, like people, sober is a loose term
Yeah, no, I
nowadays.
didn't drink at all. Didn't drink like
but
one
like
drop.
not drinking, not any
No.
mind-altering substance?
No. Dude, honestly, the only thing I've done is weed.
Really?
I've done weed.
I do weed, bro.
Yeah, but that's like, I'm a total pussy. I wanted to do coke for a while, but I don't know, like, walking up to it and being like, I have to sniff that. It has to go in my nose.
That's weird, right?
Yeah, I got psyched out.
Yeah, totally.
But and plus, I'm like I'm an addictive person, and I kind of have a disposable income. I'm like, man, coke is not.
That's right. I have the exact opposite, because like I'll rag on drinkers for like drinking a bunch and be like and being like all loser drunk out there making idiots of themselves. But like I can't say I've been sober for 113 days straight.
Yeah.
Since I was like 15 or something like that. If it came to weed.
Weed's weed though. I don't ever like even consider that a drug now.
No,
Just
it's
like,
not. It's not.
Whatever.
It's not.
But
It's in the same class. Actually, in Canada, weed and DMT are in the same substance class.
Really?
So you think of that, right? When it comes to like substances and shit.
Interesting. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about mind-altering drugs because I am a very novice at the understanding of them, and Zach is a pretty experienced person. So
I don't think a lot of people think of that of me when in the battle rap community.
That's a good thing for
anyway,
them, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I think anyone who knows me as Zach knows me as that guy, and everyone battle rap is just like
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah, well, they're like Zach the professional, the adult, and then they think of the fool that was eating broccoli on stage, like he does a lot of drugs.
Yeah, totally, right?
Whatever
yeah,
the fuck
exactly.
that kid's name was.
Yeah, Wise Guy.
Wise
man.
Guy, yeah.
He was on a lot of drugs. Yes, I've been on a lot of drugs at occasions too, but I've never done that. And I feel like that's important to keep in mind when like you go to Shambhala or these music festivals and you're telling me there's like 30,000 people on this acre of land that are all on drugs and there's like not one incident.
Yeah, and actually, the last two bunker events we had, I haven't sold alcohol just because it's just better when people just smoke. So let's talk about, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about your experience with acid?
To me, it's like with psychedelics. There's a difference between drugs and like psychedelics, right? And like psychedelics are, in my opinion, like one of the only I feel like we live in a world where we're really disconnected from nature. And I'm like not a hippie dude by any means. I'm not a vegan or any vegetarian shit or anything like that. But like I feel like I'm big. I've taken like tons of evolution and primatology classes and stuff, and like I feel like where we come from and stuff, like there is a real big disconnect. And I've heard doctors and other people explain it, and I like resonate with that it's like our last kind of connection back with nature, like especially with things like mushrooms, for example.
Yeah.
Like I prefer acid over mushrooms, like and I don't really know how you would define LSD over mushrooms or anything, but mushrooms and DMT on a molecular level are like really, really similar to one another.
Okay.
The difference is when you smoke DMT, it's just like crazy potent and all those things, right? But magic mushrooms make you, like on that like single cell whatever biological level, like they're very, very, very close to one another. So and I get that after doing mushrooms, even like I've done mushrooms with the pretense that I was gonna get fucked up all night and party and chase tail and bang chicks or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then all the way up to like I'm gonna eat a gram or two by myself and just like think about shit. You know what I mean? So it's this thing that's like reflective with age, right? Same thing as like people would with drinking, you know, you get loaded like as a kid and like just to the point where you're like puking drunk, and then like later on you try and develop a taste or like a little bit more, or whether it's excuse or not to be able to just drink or do whatever, it's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I'm not here to judge every individual on their decisions for it, but
you said you prefer acid to mushrooms?
Yeah, acid is, well, to me, because mushrooms is this, now this has nothing to do with like what my opinion of it in terms of how it like affects your body, but or affects your body in a natural way, I guess. Like, but with acid, it I just enjoy the high of it because mushrooms are dealing with your metabolism, so there's lots of ups and downs.
Oh,
so if you're eating lots of it, like you can have these peaks and valleys of the high, right? And like each peak and valley can feel different. You can have like really intense body highs and waves. Some people experience a lot of visuals on mushrooms. I don't really like for example, this table, like if you were on mushrooms, you wouldn't see like dwarves coming up and like walking around like people like try and represent it as. You would see just like shifts in patterns.
Okay, so it's like you kind of hallucinate.
Yeah, but I don't really think of it as hallucinating. I think it's more of your brain making connections that it wouldn't have otherwise made. It's like you're seeing a pattern that is there, or like things. It's hard to explain in that way, but I feel like you're not actually seeing anything. I feel like it's more of like a mirror reflection of what's like occurring in your brain. Well, with like acid, I've definitely had like visuals on acid with enough of it, especially with like particular types of acid. Like I've had times where like even the camera can't see it, but like the wood grain floor, right? And then I've had the place that I live at now has got like cabinets that are all wood grain, upper cabinets all wood grain, and like my TV shelf and like my kitchen table and stuff. It's hella oaky. And it was if I lied on the floor for like 45 minutes, and all I can remember from that time is I have like flashes of memories of like just seeing the wood grain just taking on a life of its own and like flowing through even like the glass squares, like that would be like in a cabinet, for example. Like it would flow through it and the pattern would like be consistent through as it like traveled through things. And I remember being like, okay, I want to see if it does this, and it does every time. And it's so, and then I go through this like constant argument in my brain whether or not I'm drawing it in my head or whether I'm watching like a movie, it's happening. And it's this like and like, you know, a huge thing is that whenever I talk about experiences with acid in me is like I get way too in my own head and talk about and like just have these conversations in my head for hours and hours and hours while I see these other people like just like dancing and enjoying themselves and shit, and I'm just like, oh, they're so weird.
So you like get really internal.
Yeah, I get super internal. Like
Other people don't?
Well, no, but like I think that's crazy because like obviously right now I'm not on acid and I'm really external, right? It's a part of my personality to be out there and external and talk and just be vocal. And when I'm on acid, I'm the complete opposite. Or when I'm on enough acid that it's not a party, where it's like an experience, I'm definitely not like that. I'm quiet. I'm observing and just like want to take things in and just like for a long time I just like watch conversations of people and then I just like, you know, create narratives of like what I think that they're doing. I was like, oh, this person doesn't give a fucking shit about what this guy's talking about. And like, you know what I mean? Or even going like so in depth to being like, you know, this guy mentioned his like mother earlier, so I'll bet like that he's got like a mother complex issue and that's why he's trying to hit on this girl. And this girl I know has a boyfriend and she saw this earlier tonight. And like I take these tabs throughout an entire night of people and all. And not to mean that I like try to. It's like it's almost as if it's because I watch TV and movies in the same way. It's like I take tabs and I watch it, it's like, oh, it's that thing, and they're drawing back and they're playing like it's, you know, it's and so it's like it almost turns into this like augmented reality that I'm watching when I do drugs like that, like acid that's really like mind bending in that way. And then when I come out of it, it's this like profound thing as if I had just watched a movie and learned this awesome experience or like learned this like crazy lesson. Like,
does acid ever give you like those epiphany moments where you're like, oh, this makes sense finally? Because I feel like that's everybody commonly says that about hallucinogenics. Like maybe not mushrooms, but I heard that about acid, and especially about DMT.
I don't know about mushrooms. Like I know people. So the conversation then needs to be kind of about microdosing, right? Because the only time that is really evident, I think, is in microdosing.
What's microdosing?
Microdosing is doing really, really small amounts of any drug, really, to the point where it wouldn't give you the effect. Like honestly, I feel like all of the drugs that we do that we consider drugs are like not really drugs. We just do them in these mass amounts to the point where it does this to us.
So it's like instead of taking a shot, it's like you take a shot instead of drinking the whole.
Exactly, right? Like it's just that's a great way to look at it, right? So like if you were to take and the same thing with alcohol, right? Like it's a social lubricant for fucking 500 years, right? Like if you have one or two beers, and even like a neuroscientist will tell you that like the first two beers or even the first two lines of Coke that you have in a night will be beneficial to you. And then from that point on, it's like your body just goes in starvation mode and goes into like shutdown, right? So it's like, it's all about moderation. There's people to this day in Colombia that do coke every single fucking day and go and plow their cocaine farm, like, you know what I mean? And like, and do their shit. Like it's, you know, like people go to, like if your grandma got, if your grandma like went and got, I don't know what your grandma's doing or if your grandma's dead or anything like that, but like if one's grandmother were to go into the hospital and break her fucking hip, she would take a medical grade heroin dose twice a day for 60 days. And so when she comes out, no one expects her to be a heroin addict. But like if you and I went and decided to do heroin twice a day for 60 days, we'd be fucking heroin addicts. So it's like this there's this weird shift in mentality with drugs like that, and it's similar with Tylenol. You do one, and it can cure your headache. You take a whole bottle, and you'll die.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so with microdosing, it's the same concept. With acid, it's it's really common for people to report that through taking a tenth of a dose. So one hit of acid is generally about 100 micrograms of LSD, so which is enough to have like a full trip, may or may not have hallucinations, and be a good fucking time. So we're talking about taking 1/10 of those every several hours for a long period of time, and it's supposed to make you, which I can from the immense feelings that I get from when I'm on it, crazy. Like when I'm on huge amounts of it, I can absolutely see how in my day-to-day life it would affect my productivity, how compassionate I am to be, because I have a huge problem with being sensitive to people, because I'm always just like, what else sucks? You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. Yeah. It's not so bad, but so it definitely helps you be more compassionate, helps you be more productive, helps you just like you said, those epiphany moments, right? Like you go on acid and you have these like, it all makes sense now, like the world, this and that. So like when you do microdosing, like just amplify that, or just subtract it the other way, and you'll have like day-to-day problems where you generally deal with stress or these things like that. It's supposed to help quite a bit with those things, right? Yeah. So, and the funny thing is about like particular things like THC, LSD, or DMT, which is like has the same shit as mushrooms. So think of mushrooms and DMT the same way for that, is that there are receptors in your brain that are specifically designed to receive this. They do nothing else but receive these particular chemicals. Same thing with CBDs and other things like that. I'm not trying to say that like there's this like section in your brain, like, because stoners and people hear that and they think that it's like, oh, it's no problem, right? But it's and that's what I'm trying to say with the disconnection from nature. Like there's a reason, like a biological evolutionary reason that these two things exist in the world. To me, having that ability and not to exploit that, or at least try to understand that, feels like super irresponsible. Or at least like, it takes away the potential, I think. Like it takes your mind to other things. Drugs are the only way for you to ever achieve a different perspective. When I've done acid, I've had these like really uncomfortable few hours where I'm trying to figure everything out, and then I have this like blast of a time 6 hours later, right? And it's like this, or I have this like profound experience from thinking about things or whatever, and I don't, like now when I want to tell you the story, I don't want to like, and it's not as if I'm trying to hide that part of the story, but it's just like, it's not the part that matters. Like if you were to talk to a mother about giving birth, she wouldn't talk about how shitty, how much it hurt, like how much it hurt or anything like that, right? Like that's the last thing on their mind when it comes to what you get at the end of it. So, and I definitely think that I do drugs for different reasons than most people. Like that's evident in the people that I do drugs with for the most part. Yeah. But like, and I definitely have my party times and not. But like I've had bad trips. I've been in my own head. I've had times on mushrooms where like, and like, because I was a kid that like 16, 17 doing way too many, just trying to push the limits. Like I've eaten an ounce of mushrooms in an entire day one time, throughout an entire like course of a day. Yeah. And just like by the time 6 p.m. rolls around, like you're a fucking lunatic. I've sat there in like alleyways, like with my eyes closed, feeling like, I remember this, like feeling like I couldn't open my eyes, like it was locked in, like it had to show me this or whatever, I had to see it or whatever. And it was just like this flip book of like pictures scrolling by of me and my friends like partying and having fun and like just like like cool, whatever, arms around each other, like just you know what I mean, good times type pics. Yeah. And then it slowly turned into everyone like hurting themselves and like mutilating themselves, and like it really like really slowly like getting, and like it's just pushing the boundaries slower and slower. And but like as it's happening in my mind, I like go like, is this, I keep questioning, like, is my mind creating this right now, or this shift, or is it like, am I seeing something and I don't understand it, and then I can't feel like I open my eyes, and then I go to this like other level of thought where I feel like my consciousness is showing me something that I need to see to be able to grow as a person, to further from this like thing. And it's like, you can see where it's like, it's just awesome, like, you know what I mean? So I really try and look things from like a constructive level. And I spent like my first several years in battle rap, just to give people like a frame of reference, like when I first started battling, maybe the past like 3 years ago, so probably like good 5 years, like the first 5 years of it, I was not trying to do drugs. I thought I pretty much had it all out of me in high school, or like, you know, my 19, 20, like I got into a lot of trouble drinking and doing blow and just like being a waste human, you know what I mean? And I got out of that and did really well, succeeded. I'm like super happy with where I am in life. And now I've gone back to do drugs, and that now experience, like it's interesting to see. It's like drugs is going to amplify whatever personality you currently have, especially not drugs, and I shouldn't say drugs, psychedelics. Yeah. will amplify your current personality. Like they're not gonna make you a trash bag. No one eats mushrooms and is like staring at the walls melting and being like, let's eat more. Like it's, take it in, man. Like you do acid, it's like it's something like it's an 8-hour ride, man. You go 4 hours up, like you'll have this crazy intense part, and there'll be times that are uncomfortable, absolutely. But then there'll be this like these laughs and these like moments of understanding that are just like out of control. So like when people have bad trips or these things, I feel like it's allowing, it's a spiral, right? Like you go like, oh, could I have a bad trip right now? And it's all you need. Like, you know what I mean?
Doubt.
Exactly. It's just doubt. And like you need to have confidence going into it. And that's why like drugs, I totally, like I'm for the legalization of drugs completely. Across the board, but I'm completely against children doing drugs. And even people like my age, even when I was 16, 17, at that time, like saying like, oh, fuck them, I can do whatever I want. Like you shouldn't. Like you're not in a frame of mind. It's not even about an adult. Like I'm sure there's 16-year-olds out there that could do drugs and like have like it's and from okay, so like maybe not for my age, I shouldn't speak like that. Like for my white privileged ass life, like for how tough my life may have been in certain stages, like for my white privileged ass life, it's at that time I wasn't mature enough to handle those types of experiences. I mean, DMT is kind of a different story because the difference with DMT and other psychedelics is that like with acid, you'll hear different stories from a million different fucking people all over the world, right? Or mushrooms or anything like that. Every trip, every person from hour to hour, minute by minute will be different. But with DMT, a very similar experience and very similar patterns and artwork and all those things are experienced on a wide level.
Interesting.
Which is like it's really crazy, right? Like outside of Tylenol or like anything, you know what I mean, and like Oxycontins and like prescription drugs and things that are like figured out and measured and put together by pharmaceutical industries that are like this perfect metric of a combination of all of these like crazy ridiculous things. This is a substance that exists naturally that does this, that creates a psychedelic experience of intense nature across pretty much every single person who does it. And any negative experience is again, in my opinion, from one who like tried to control it or at least went in with and it's okay to go in with doubt because doing DMT and psychedelics is about removing your ego.
I was gonna ask you, so DMT, what exactly is DMT? I know what DMT, it's a chemical that exists in your brain, right? Or
No, it exists in your brain. Your pineal gland produces it.
And I've heard a lot of people say it's what you see, that light that people always say when they're dying. That's like a rush of DMT. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I've never spoken to a scientist about this, but from what I've known and what I've read and like seen, and I've like gone pretty deep. It's like there's DMT is released into your brain naturally when you dream during your REM cycle, when you sleep. So during your REM cycle, when you're born and when you die, I don't know to what degree that's like, you know, one of those like fairy tales of drugs or anything like that. But as a user of DMT, I can absolutely say where I can see where that theory was based from.
Yeah, interesting.